Drivers, start your engines!
Yellow's out. Managed just about outwrecked him. Minty busted her.
Hello, everybody. It is Thursday, August the 10th. Time is flying by, man.
Yes.
We are in the studio for episode 47. Working up to that big 5-0.
We were just talking about all the ideas that we had. And I think we need to do something big for 50. I don't know what, but we need to do something big.
I mean, I agree.
We got 3 weeks.
We got 3 weeks to figure something out. But we'll bring you guys something. We've been talking a lot. Just now, we've been sitting out here for like an hour before starting the podcast, just discussing, I guess, business ideas. Just, we really, really, really want to expand our audience, grow our brand.
Yeah.
And we've hit like a really big plateau.
Yeah.
So it's just hard because we don't know what routes to go to reach more people, whether that be sponsoring drivers or, you know, we've talked about a couple of things, trying to host some events, potential giveaways.
Yeah.
Just little...
More on that later.
Yeah, more on that later. But we've been discussing a lot. So hopefully we're going to... Well, not hopefully. We're going to schedule a time for us to sit down and really just kind of weigh out the pros and cons of everything, how we want to go about it, what we need to do to go about it, who we need to talk to.
Yep.
And yeah, so the goal is to increase our following. That way we can do bigger things.
Yeah.
We want to, ultimately we would love to be able to sponsor a lot of things, whether that be drivers, races, just big things.
Yeah.
We really want to get our name out because we have a lot of optimism, I should say. I think we know our potential.
Yeah.
We know what we could be. We have great ideas. The problem is executing them. We just don't have the knowledge or the resources
Yeah.
to do that yet.
And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I talk about this all the time about having potential. You know, how I've been when our very first episode, I was like, we're doing this, and this. And you're like, slow down. And it's like, I think we're at a point now where it's like, I think we have reached maybe like a crossroads here. It's like, okay, we have big decisions that we're going to have to make. Do we keep doing what we're doing and hope that it works, or are we going to try to think outside the box? And I think Jarrett and I are on the same page. But I know what the potential is. There's a lot of things that we really want to do, a lot of things that I want to do. You know, I would love to be a content creator. I would love to be able to do the things that Jarrett just mentioned. And for me, you know, not to go on a sob story or whatever, but it's like, it's frustrating because I know what the potential is. I know what we could do with this. And I just feel like I've hit a brick wall as somebody trying to grow what we have. And I'm sure maybe you feel the same way. I think you feel the same way. And it's just frustrating because it's like I told you earlier, I was like, I know once we get to where I want to be at, if we ever do reach that point, but I'm confident that one day we will, you know, it's only up from there. It's going to be so much easier than trying to get over what we're trying to get through now. It's just a lot of work, but I'm still optimistic that next year, because we still got a couple months left in this year. And I think we've done a lot of great things this year too. I mean, regardless if we've
learned a lot.
We've learned, that is true. We've learned quite a bit this year. And, you know, maybe if you don't see it, you're listening and you're like, yeah, I really don't agree with you here. I think regardless, from our very first episode and now, we've been doing this for 2 years now?
Coming up on 2 years. It'll be 2 years right before Winchester.
Yeah. So we've been doing this for almost 2 years. I think we've grown a lot over those 2 years. Granted, it's not where I want to be at, but I'm also somebody that's like, I want to get to the top of the mountain tomorrow. And it's just not realistic. But I do think that next year, if we can figure out what we're going to do for next year and really get a roadmap for next year, I think we'll be really, really great next year. And I think next year would be a huge turning point in what we're doing. So I'm very confident. I think we have a lot of great ideas. We have a lot of resources, as in people around us that, are willing to help. So hopefully things start to turn around. But for me, it's been, I guess frustrating is not the right word, but it's just been like I've been upset multiple times, where I'm just like, this isn't, where I want to be. This isn't where I really expected us to be at. And then it leads to a lot of like, do we keep going? For me, it's like, how much longer are we going to do this before we finally just say like, maybe it's just not
right
what's in the cards for us. So I want to keep doing this for a long time.
I do too, because I have a lot of fun doing this.
I do too.
Even for the select few people that listen or, interact with us on social media. But no, I have a good time, and this isn't something that I want to stop doing.
Right.
But you reach a point where nothing's going on, and it's hard to not get down.
Yeah.
It's not hard, or it is hard to not get upset and
just say like
doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're really trying. We're going to reach out, hopefully get some partners going, get some things moving with some partners. That's going to be another part of probably some of our discussions coming up, just how it's hard to find that golden ticket per se. What sets you above everybody else?
Yeah, and I will say, I think I said this one episode, I said this in one episode. It's like I've always wanted to be a content creator, never really thought about like what genre per se, but now that we're doing it, I mean, we're like the lowest bottom of the barrel content creators, but that's what we are. Like that's what we do in our free time. And it's like, it's very hard. You can't just set up a camera. You can't just sit behind a mic and talk for an hour and post it and expect things to happen. I'm not expecting things to happen, but it's also like, it'd be nice. Like, do I want to make money from the podcast? Yes, but not for personal gain. I want to do it so that we can invest in ourselves as content creators to be able to expand what we're doing. I'm not going to give away everything I've talked about with Jarrett, but there was a really good idea we discussed where we basically give back.
That's the big thing.
And that's what we want to do. We're not just doing this. Like, I'm not doing this to say, oh, I'm going to make money off of a video. Like, I'm not interested in the paycheck, right? Like, I want to be able to invest in our brand, be able to give back to others and just make good quality content for those of you that do support us. And we really appreciate it. And that's why when I get down on myself in private, I don't want to just up and quit, because I know there are quite a few of you who do genuinely support us and listen each week, and we really appreciate that. So, we want to do the best for you guys and all that, but it's also, on the other hand, it's like, it's really hard to, a lot of time goes in it behind the scenes, and it's like, at some point, there's been times where I'm like, is this really worth it anymore to sit down for hours at a time to do show notes, for example, do the research for show notes. I'm always constantly thinking about different ideas that we could implement. I've thought of ideas that we've tried implementing, and I'm like, ooh, didn't work out the first time. How do we fix them and make them better? Editing has been such a challenge with the current setup. I've been trying to save money for a decent computer that would allow us to edit our videos better, make them better quality. I'm not saying our stuff sucks, but it is.
There's always room for improvement.
Yes. And so that's something that I battle personally. It's like, I don't want to give this up. I enjoy doing this with you. I think it is fun when we're doing it. And I think it's brought us closer as friends. Mm-hmm. And, I think something that keeps me motivated, and it might be so simple to somebody else, is like, when we first agreed to do the podcast, we originally had it set up on my kitchen table, literally texted Jared out of the blue and was like, hey, because we had been talking about the podcast before, like, hey, I bought podcast equipment. It's been sitting in my room. Like, let's start a podcast. Jared's like, okay. I texted him out of the blue one day, and I was like, come over. Like, we're doing it today. And it was our first episode ever, pre-race for Winchester. We had our first guest on. We did it in my damn barn. And to see how far we've come, even if it looks minor to me, it's still amazing to see, like, okay, so we've come from recording our first, 3 or 4 episodes in our barn to getting the space in the garage in front of an ugly ass gray wall to what we have now, I'm not that mad about it. But it's like, I want to keep going. And I think maybe that the high of it, of being like successful in that moment to where we expanded in that short amount of time and we were doing what we were doing, it's like, I want to keep going. And I know that we have the potential. It's just this brick wall we got to get through. But I'm confident, you know, I don't see us just quitting tomorrow, but, you know, I think next year hopefully will be a huge turning point for us.
Going back to like just how difficult things are, Dakota and I have talked in the past about doing vlogs at the racetrack when we're racing, but it is insanely difficult because I race, Dakota races, Dakota's dad races, so everything moves so fast.
Yeah.
We don't have time to stop and get a camera out and record, and we don't have somebody to just do that full time because all the people that are involved
are helping.
So, you know, we can't just get out of our cars and pop out the camera and be like, hey guys, you know, I mean, we could, but it would be extremely difficult. And
that, and I think that's the thing too. It's like, I don't want to sacrifice the little quality we got. So it's like quantity over quality, right? It's like, yeah, we could possibly put a half-ass vlog up from a race.
You mean quality over quantity?
Sure. Yeah, that's what I meant. But my point is the same, that, you know, we could put up a half-ass video from a race. It's like, is that enjoyable to watch? Probably not.
Then I also don't trust anybody enough to record our races because they're too busy watching us, and they'll be over here with the camera coming out of the dog leg and we're exiting the short turn.
Right.
So, and when we get out of our cars, we're the ones working on and making adjustments, this, that, and the other. And so we get done with, we get there, we sit for a little bit. Can't really make a vlog. We could start one in the means before we start practicing and stuff, kind of talk about our hopes for the day, but then we really don't have a whole lot of time until we're done. And by that time it's late. You know, we're just ready to go to bed. And I understand that maybe that's just a sacrifice we're going to have to be willing to make, but we have our first practice. You get out of the car, it seems like 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And in that time, you're trying to make adjustments because our second practice is actually group qualifying. So you want to go out there and run a good lap for qualifying. And then you have a little bit of time off where we have a quick driver's meeting, and then we go right into heat races and features. Yep. So if we run a heat race, you're out of your car for another 10, 15 minutes per se, and then, hey, you're back up for your feature.
Yeah.
And the way that it all works with how you race in a different class than we do, you know, your dad and I race first, and then we're out watching you, and then we load the cars up and go home, or vice versa. So it's difficult without having someone there holding the camera for us to do it. Mm-hmm. We could give updates, obviously, and maybe that's just something we need to work on and try to incorporate into our race day. And maybe we give it a shot once and we're like, no.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I'm down to try anything, obviously. I don't think we're going to say, no, that's not a good idea. I think it's definitely worth trying. It's just time is the biggest factor here, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff that on the content side of things, like, I have ideas for, right? Like, obviously, we're going to hopefully do our countdown to Winchester again, right? We'd love to expand on something like that. There's some other things that I've considered that I'll talk to Jarrett furthermore about when we sit down, but it's also like I told Jarrett, we just don't have the time to do it, right? Sometimes we barely have the time to do a podcast in a week because we're just so busy. Like, so that's
especially when when things are really bad with the cars and we have to spend a lot of time fixing them. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, we haven't really had that the last couple of weeks. We also got rained out last weekend, so we didn't race. Right. So stuff like that helps when we're not having to spend a bunch of time fixing stuff. But it's still, life goes on. Yep. Life is really busy. Work, other things happen. Families, everything. So it's difficult. And I'm sure a lot of people understand that, but yeah, I'm assuming there's some people that don't.
And quite frankly, I think if we were in a different position, speaking for myself, I would be more willing to put up with sacrifices of, okay, like, say we did something 3 days a week, spread out, right? I would be more willing to make that sacrifice. But just where we're at right now, I really don't think it's worth it to increase our output on content when we're just in the situation we're in now. So
I will say, though, our most recent YouTube video is our most watched so far.
Yeah.
So we hope that continues to grow.
It would be nice. Hope we can keep that trend going for future episodes. But anyway.
Social media is also hard.
Yes.
You know, it seems pretty easy. Hey, just get on and post something, but it's not.
Yeah.
So I think I would like to try and help you out with that a little more. So maybe we can get back. We've had a couple of TikToks that did really well.
Yeah.
So if we could figure out why the camera keeps shutting off, which I think it's just getting too hot.
Yeah.
But we could edit some clips and get back to that. Maybe get some more interactions on TikTok. Because, I mean, that video had what?
We have 4.
Hang on. I'll find it.
We had one that I think had 80-something thousand. I know 4 had double digits. But even posting clips like Instagram, like posting reels, like that's part of the strategy that I've come up with is posting reels, doing, posting short clips on Facebook and Twitter. But yeah, it just comes down to the amount of time that we have.
I don't have any service.
It's just, it takes a lot more than what people think.
This doctor's
and sorry. And
yeah, it's not as simple, cut and dry as it looks.
Yeah. Oop. Hold on. I almost just followed somebody on the page. Yeah, I mean, for example, like we had one that got 40.3K, 10.9K, 85.8K, 34.7K. So, I mean, we've had 4 videos go relatively viral on TikTok. I think it's a great resource. I think social media is a great resource.
It's just
hard
so game to
hard.
play.
Yeah. It's a hard game to play. But anyway, to cut this conversation short, I'm very optimistic for the next year or two. I think that once we clear this brick wall, we sit down and really talk about our ideas out loud, I think we'll make some great strides.
We're going to bust through this bitch like the Kool-Aid man.
I hope so.
Anyway, the green flag is now out. Weather delay. Green flag is out. We're ready to roll 3 wide with DJG. So first, Dakota, how we doing?
I mean, we had a relatively tough conversation before. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling optimistic. Hopeful for the future. This is my state of the podcast address. First one ever. But no, I'm feeling great. Glad to be here. Love doing it. Don't want it to make it sound like I hate doing this or it's a burden. I really love doing this. That's why I care so much. Love being here with you. I appreciate you as always. Yeah, feeling great. How are you?
I'm doing good. But before we get into me, I really don't have much of an update. Work's been work.
Yeah.
We didn't race last weekend. But I do want to get into last weekend. You tried something new.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So I would like for you to tell our listeners about that.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, I race a front-wheel drive vehicle, front-wheel drive compact. So that's all my experience in racing has been is front-wheel drive. We got rained out, and so we had noticed that a modified who came from who knows where had pulled it out of the trailer. They pulled it out of the trailer. They were going to run a couple laps before they left. And so Jared and I were like, hey, like maybe we should run some laps while we're here. And me and my dad have been talking about letting me jump in his car at the end of the season for me just to get the experience of what a rear-wheel drive car feels like and all that. And it happened.
It did.
And when I say it was probably the most fun I've had in a while, I really mean that. It was a really cool experience.
A lot different than what you're used to.
Yes. Throttle control is more relevant than than what I'm used to. But it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Not quite sure I'm there yet on getting one, but definitely something that I've considered more recently. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
He did spin out once.
And that was fun. I mean, I was afraid that the car was going to keep backing up into the wall, but regardless, it was fun. I had a blast.
No, you looked really good. Granted, you have racing experience before you hopped in a Crown Vic, whereas I didn't.
Yeah.
But you looked a lot better, like 400 times better than I did when I first hopped in a car. And watching you really did look pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I got out and ran some laps with you.
And you look better.
Well, I've also been doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I get how the car handles and where you're hopping in a new car that you haven't driven before.
Yeah.
So understandably. But I also was trying some new things out to see if I could potentially gain some speed. Now we don't have any way to keep track of lap times really, but it felt good. So I was hoping you got behind me, and I was hoping I let you get close enough before I took off. But no, seat time's a big thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that any little bit of extra seat time I can get will help me out on the racetrack on race day. But yeah, rained out. Makeup date is now August 19th, which pushes our Crown Vic 75 lapper back 2 weeks.
Yeah.
A week?
So I think it's a week.
Which is fine, because I got to call and get my tires shaved. I also got to go pick up a new set of rims, wheels, whatever you want to call them. So, yeah, like I said, I'm good. Work's work. Happy you got behind the wheel of a Crown Vic finally.
Yeah, it was
Glad
fun.
you had fun.
Did a lot better than I thought.
You did a lot better than I thought you would, too, not going to lie. But, yeah, let's get into some show notes here. I'll go ahead and start off. We have IndyCar post-race from Nashville. Kyle Kirkwood scored the win, followed by Scott McLaughlin, Alex Palou, Joseph Newgarden, and Scott Dixon. Following the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, Alex Palou holds the top spot in the championship point standings with 513 points. Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Ericsson, Pato O'Ward, Will Power, Christian Lundgaard, Kyle Kirkwood, and Colton Herta close out the top 10. There are just 4 more races left in the season to make any points gains, and the IndyCar Series will be close to home this weekend, as they set to race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, joining NASCAR Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. The Truck Series will be racing at IRP tomorrow.
Very excited.
We will be there in person. So I'm excited for that. Green flags. Wait. Yes, sorry. Is it for 450?
So it's the Indy NXT series. So I think it's like one of the levels below IndyCar.
Okay.
So they'll take the green flag at 450.
The NXT series takes the flag on Friday at 4:50 on Peacock. The IndyCar series will hit the track Saturday with the green flag scheduled for 2 on USA, and the remainder of the NTT IndyCar series will consist of a race at Worldwide Technology, Grand Prix of Portland, and closing out the season in Monterey. During the broadcast in Nashville, it was announced that the Music City Grand Prix will have a new layout in downtown Nashville.
This is what it looks like. I'll insert it.
Yeah, I saw that picture, and I don't know how I feel about it.
So I love Nashville. I've only been once, but I did go down Broadway. Dark, but that's where the RV blew up. For those of you that might not know where Broadway is, that was the street that happened on. I love Nashville so much. Broadway is just a fun place to be. It's where all the bars and restaurants are. I don't know. I would love to go and see it in person. I think it'd be so much fun. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see regardless. But
I don't really have a whole lot to say on it. I don't. But, I sit here and I always talk about how I don't like this, and it ends up being a lot better than what I thought. So I'm going to sit here and just bite my tongue on this and see how it turns out. So
I think that's fair. We'll see. Moving on to some NASCAR post-race from Michigan. The Xfinity Series hit the track in Michigan, where John Hunter Nemechek scored his 5th win of the season. Josh Berry, Brandon Jones, Ty Gibbs, and Sam Mayer finished out the top 5. The Xfinity Series will head to Indy this weekend, where they are set to race on Saturday with green flag scheduled for 5:30 on USA. In the Cup Series, Chris Buescher scored his second win of the season, following his first at Richmond last week. Martin Truex Jr., who had a strong car all day, was not able to complete a pass on Buescher and finish second. Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, and Kyle Larson ride out the top 5. The NASCAR Cup Series will close out the weekend in Indy on Sunday, with the field scheduled to take the green flag at 2:30. You can catch all the action on NBC.
So, first off, John Hunter Nemechek, that car was a rocket ship. They had a restart towards the end of the race, and he absolutely pulled away from Josh Berry and everybody. I mean, no problem whatsoever, was just gone. And the same can be said about Martin Truex. I texted you because they ended up finishing it on Monday. Mm-hmm. I texted you, I said, Truex is driving a rocket.
Yeah.
I thought for sure no one had anything for him, and comes out. I had stopped watching for a meeting or something, and I made the mistake of getting on Facebook before I started watch the finish of the race, the end of the race, and I saw that you had posted Chris Buescher won. So I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, guess I don't have to watch the rest of it. But no, so that's cool. I think RFK is finally starting to turn things around. Ford as well. You know,
yeah.
We've talked about, or everybody's noticed Ford has struggled a lot this year. And that makes 9 consecutive wins at Michigan for Ford?
Something like that, yeah.
But I'm hoping Ford is starting to turn things around. RFK is looking really good, especially with Brad Kay finishing up in the top 5 for this race. So that's good. It's good for them. I'm glad to see it. I think they're peaking at a good time. I don't want to say peaking, but
I would agree with that, though. I would agree with that assessment.
They're gaining momentum
yes.
at the right time. That's what I want to say.
And I will say, if you didn't get to watch the finish, it was very unfortunate because Chris Buescher put up a hell of a fight to keep Martin Truex behind him, and it came close a couple times in the closing laps, but just to see him pull that off was just amazing, and get back-to-back wins, I mean, it's just crazy itself. So,
it's funny, they were talking on the broadcast about how Keselowski said the next step for the team is to have a multiple win season. They're like, well, I bet he wasn't thinking that it was going to be the next race.
Right.
So
yeah, they looked really good. I forgot how good Michigan raced.
Yeah. It's a big track.
Yeah.
Dude.
It was lots of good racing this weekend.
A lot of drivers struggled too.
Yeah.
I mean, so Chase Elliott was it a tire failure that caused him to hit the wall? A couple of drivers just spinning. A lot of people searching for grip. They had the resin or whatever up on the high groove. If you get up too high, forget about it.
Yep.
It's a tough track. You got to see a lot of people really just dive bomb the corner and slide up in front of people. It was a lot of really good racing.
Yep.
And maybe it wasn't necessarily close quarters racing, but there was still a lot of passes being made.
Yeah. And you made a good point, too. There were several drivers that had issues Sunday and Monday. Lots of those drivers were playoff drivers.
Yeah.
Or those trying to get into the playoffs. So, overall, I thought it was a great weekend. Really excited for Indy.
I will say, I don't know if you have anything on here about... No. So, for the road course, they moved the restart zone back to hopefully get drivers spread out a little bit more before entering the sharp right-hand turn.
I didn't see that, but I'm not surprised.
They moved it back a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think I saw a tweet about it, how if you're like 15th on back, you're screwed because you're still coming out of whatever turn. I think it's turn 7 maybe, something like that. You're still halfway through it's a really tight corner. Mm-hmm. You're halfway through the corner, and the leaders are taking the green flag and taking off. Right. So I really think it's going to help people spread out. And as much as some of you may hate it, I really loved the chaos that occurred in the turn 1 on the restarts.
I did too.
It really made that race interesting.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That was probably my favorite part about Indy.
Honestly.
With them running the road course. But, no, yeah, it was a great weekend last week, minus the rain. Really excited about this weekend. But yeah.
I hope the rain stays away because they canceled all the CRA stuff on Saturday.
Lots of people were pissed.
Yeah, and the last time I checked earlier, there's not, well, at least for here, there was no rain in the forecast.
I know when they canceled, people were like, there's only a 30% chance of rain. Why would you cancel with that percentage in Indiana? we would never race. And I'm just like, yeah, I get it. But I also saw allegedly it was because car counts weren't as great as people thought.
I saw that as well.
So
I saw someone said, let the convicts out there, and they said they won't allow that to happen because they don't want us to show the big boys up.
Right. It's interesting to see what the real reason is. I mean, yeah, I could see it being rain if there was a great chance for it Friday, but I don't think that's the case anymore. So it's unfortunate regardless. But yeah, I'm excited for the truck race tomorrow. Very excited to go.
Speaking of the truck race, we got some pre-race stuff to go on. So, back at IRP, second time since 2011. Start of the playoffs for the truck series.
Yes.
I love that they made this the first playoff race.
Yeah.
Last year's winner, Grant Infinger, is looking to repeat his success, while others are hoping to make gains in this year's playoff standings or to even score their first win. IRP is the first race in the round of 10, where Corey Heim is currently in first in this year's playoffs. Zane Smith, Carson Hosebar, Christian Eckes, Grant Infinger, Ty Majeski, Ben Rhodes, and Nick Sanchez sit above the cutoff line, while Matty D and Matt Crafton find themselves looking in from the outside. Because points have reset, Matty D and Crafton are just 2 points below the line, and following IRP, drivers will have 2 races, the Milwaukee Mile and Kansas, before the round of 8, which will begin at Bristol. It's Bristol, baby. Yeah. Really, really, really excited for this race. SVG is making a return for this race, correct?
Yep, he'll be racing with Nice in the 41.
Is Connor running an Xfinity car or a truck?
I believe Connor will be running an Xfinity car.
Okay. I knew that he was racing this weekend, but I wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah.
No, really looking forward to it. Had a lot of fun last year. There's also an ARCA race before that, which we watched last year. I'm assuming with the role that Jesse Love has been on, he's probably going to have some success here. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong. But, yeah.
I'm excited for both.
Also, he hit the wall pretty hard last night at Berlin.
Yeah.
The left rear just came off. And anyway,
yeah,
we got some Berlin stuff after this. Anyway, first round of the playoffs, super exciting. Everything kind of ramps up at this point. Everybody's racing for blood.
And not to sound like an asshole, but like if you're not at the track tomorrow, man, you're really missing out.
At least watch it.
The environment, watch it. It's great racing, but just to be there. I knew they really weren't sure how it was going to work out with them coming back for the first time in 10 years. I thought
great.
Last year. Sold out. The environment was amazing. The atmosphere was amazing. People were there. They showed up. They were excited. The racing was great. Drivers
interacting with fans.
Yeah. There were drivers behind us. I'm hoping we can get some of that again this year. But, yeah, it was just really, really fun. And I will say, like, if you want to go to a truck race and you're looking for one to go to, yeah, it's a short track, but that's more my cup of tea anyway. I would highly recommend getting tickets to this race next year.
100%.
But I'm so excited. I work tomorrow, too, which sucks. I know you do, too. But I cannot wait until 5 o'clock hits and I can just get out there and get to the track. I'm so excited. Speaking of racing, because that's all we talk about, Berlin. Battle at Berlin happened last night. Another great race to watch. We lost power for a minute, so I missed a couple laps. But super late model drivers from all over the country made their way to Berlin Raceway, where Bubba Pollard scored the win in $30,000 and a nice-ass toolbox. There we go.
I want one.
It looked nice.
I want to get a whole pit cart for us to take to the track. That way we have everything we need.
If you would like to donate to our pit cart, please reach out. Chase Elliott, Evan Shotko, who had a dominant car most of the night, Josh Berry, who made his first late model appearance of the year, and Kyle Crump rounded out the top 5. Dylan Stovall, William Byron, Cole Butcher, Joe Bush, and Austin Hull rounded out the top 10 in Michigan. Chase Elliott, I know broadcast was talking a lot last night about how, coming in, he was excited to be back in Berlin, hadn't been there in quite a few years. Wasn't really hopeful for the night. He talked to media and was talking about trying to get his late model program back in the right direction. Seems to me that he wants to focus on it a little bit more than maybe he had earlier this year. But to come out his first time in several years and pull out a top 2 finish. Amazing job on his part. Huge congrats to Bubba Pollard. Evan Shotko had a really good shot. He dominated most of that race. But to just finish out top 5, Kyle Crump battled, who was it? Battled Stovall. They got into it a couple times in the closing laps. Huge congrats to Kyle for that top 5.
No, Cole Butcher led some laps early on. I don't know if he was just pushing the car really hard, but he was passing people on the outside groove.
Yeah.
Making it look easy.
Yeah. It was just a overall great race. Glad I remembered it because I almost forgot about it.
Yeah, you reminded me, and I just got home from the fair, and I was like, well, I turned it on almost just in time. We were a little early, but...
Yeah. But, yeah, great race.
Moving on?
Yep.
Got some driver announcements. Greg Van Alst announced he will be running the remainder of the Truck Series starting tomorrow with Young's Motorsports. SVG will be racing at IRP with Nice. Catherine, is it Legay?
I think it's Catherine Legg.
Catherine Legg, I don't know, sorry. Was scheduled to race at Indy in the Xfinity Series, but will not make the race for sponsor reasons.
And did you see why?
No.
So her partner was was an agency of some sort, but they're tied in with the writer's strike out in Hollywood. And so because of that, they basically had to pull their sponsorship. So she lost her ride because of something else going on, which is unfortunate. I know she was really looking forward to it. Hope to see her back in the race car soon on the stock car side of things. I'll let you continue with that.
All right, I'm about to butcher a name, so I'm going to warn in advance. So we have Shane Van Gisbergen racing with Trackhouse in car number 91. Kamui Kobayashi, I butchered that, sorry, with 2311 in car number 67. Brody Kostecki with RCR, number 33. Jensen Button, Rick Ware Racing, number 15. Mike Rockenfeller, Legacy Auto Club in the 42. Andy Lawley with Rick Ware also in the 51. Some other news. Front Row Motorsports has announced that they have signed McDowell and Gilliland as their Cup drivers for next season, and Zane Smith is potentially a free agent. The news that is big in
biggest news of the week
in the motorsports world is Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson leaves Legacy, and Mike Rockenfeller will also fill in at Watkins Glen. Sorry. No other driver has been named. So for those of you that don't know, which we're going to get into this a little more in depth here in just a moment, there was a meme that Noah Gragson had liked on social media that was apparently from years ago.
I think they said 3 years ago.
That had to do with the George Floyd situation. And
it somehow made the light of day.
It did. It made the light of day, and it didn't look good, in all honesty. So Legacy suspended him. Then NASCAR suspended him. There was stuff going around on social media saying that Legacy and Noah had separated, which wasn't true.
At the time. Which I want to say it wasn't confirmed. There were several people saying one thing, several people saying the other. So nobody really knew what was going on at the time. That news did come today.
It was recent. Yeah, announced today that Noah Gragson had requested.
Today or yesterday, sorry.
Yeah, it was recent.
Yeah.
Noah Gragson had requested that they remove him and, the contract and all that stuff as he deals with all of this.
Yeah.
So I want to say that shows a lot of maturity on his side.
Mm-hmm.
But
I have my doubts, but we'll get into that in a minute.
We'll get into that in a minute.
I'll let you finish up any thought you have on Noah, but I want to go back to Front Row for a second because I know you said you had thoughts. I also have thoughts, and I don't think we're going to see eye to eye here. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts were on it, and then I'll give mine.
Well, my thought here is I feel like they ripped off Todd Gilliland this season.
Yeah.
Because he was supposed to run full time. And they took him out to let Zane Smith run a few races. And then they pass on him and sign Gilliland full time. Why? I didn't like the move to begin with, but then everybody was like, well, Zane Smith's going to take the ride, which is stupid anyway, because this is Todd's first year in the Cup Series, which we talked about how we thought that they were going to do that to him, where he wasn't doing well enough in his first season, so they were going to replace him, which I'm very shocked that wasn't the case. So, but I hate to see that for Zane Smith, but at the same time, you know, they did rip off Toddy G earlier in the season, and so I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on it. Yeah,
and that's kind of, I will say I agree with you there. As far as I don't know what the is going on at Front Row Motorsports, and I would love to, because they, like you said, they announced that Toddy G was going to race full time in the Cup Series. They basically withdrew that and said, just kidding, Zane Smith is going to run a couple races this year. Toddy G had to find a ride at that point to fill those gaps. What I find interesting though is, and this is what I'm not really seeing, I try to think and nothing happens, right? Is where Front Row Motorsports said that they were looking for a third charter and nobody was selling. Well, no, if that was the case, Dale Jr. would probably be talked about more about getting a charter. I also don't know how they would have afforded a third charter. I'm not saying their sponsorship's not great. I'm sure they are very, they have money in the bank to do that. But with the talk of how much charters are, I just don't see how they would have been able to pull it off. Because they were talking about getting a third charter for Zane. And now Zane is potentially a free agent. Zane has the option to stay with Front Row Motorsports in the trucks. They pretty much said that. But on the flip side of that, it seems like they're wanting to push him into a Xfinity or even Cup, which I think Zane has shown he has potential for. But it's I think that's a bit of a chaos that I wouldn't want to deal with, right? Where I'm not saying Michael McDowell, I would have re-signed both of them for sure.
Plus, Michael McDowell's having a decent season.
Yeah. He's probably had his last couple of great seasons in his entire career these last few years. So I agree with keeping him. Toddy G, I would give him the chance. Like I said, Front Row Motorsports is one of the teams that I'm a fan of, but I also think, like, what are you doing? You're going to kill somebody's career. But I do feel bad for Zane Smith. It's just a weird situation that I would be interested in knowing more about. I do have faith that Zane will find a ride next year if he decides to leave Front Row Motorsports. But I don't.
The 42's open.
Yeah, but I don't see there might be a couple cars open next season, but I don't see how they really considered a third charter. I guess that's where I'm kind of like, realistically, is that something that you guys were really considering, or was this just well, we thought about it and we couldn't get it done, so Zane's a free agent? I don't know. But yeah, I guess we do see eye to eye, but I would love to know the business side of it.
Right.
Because I'm just like, what in the hell is going on over there? But with that being said, we can get back to the bigger news of the week, which is Noah Gragson.
I saw a tweet today that was in regards to the Gragson situation, and this person said Hendrick Motorsports goes full time or runs a 17 car full time next season in Xfinity Series. Noah Gragson runs a 17, wins 9 races, wins the championship. Boom, career saved.
Right.
But no, I mean, I don't know what to say about the whole situation.
I know it's been a very controversial situation, obviously, which is great for this week's segment of Green Flag, Red Flag.
Which, yes.
I'm going to be very careful with what I say. With that being said, the first question of this week was Noah's suspension warranted?
I'm going to give this a green flag.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily want to, and I'll explain why. One, this was years ago, supposedly. And two, nothing came out of his mouth. He didn't say anything, But the reason I'm giving it the green flag is because, as a driver, you have to have money to race. You get money from your sponsors, and you know, just as well as I do, Noah is a very marketable driver. Mm-hmm. He's very interactive with his fans. You know, his energy's always high. He's just easy to be like, yeah. So, when you have sponsors, you are kind of at their will, which means you have to represent them in a way that isn't negative or anything like that. So whenever you do something like that, granted, some of this probably happened before some of these sponsors came on board. The fact that it's out there makes the sponsors essentially look bad, I guess.
It just wouldn't put them in a great spot.
Yes. So without the sponsors, you don't race. So Noah, by doing so, potentially put his career in jeopardy, because if his sponsors back out and he can't get any more because of this, how are you going to race with no money?
Right.
So because of sponsors and all this, and plus yes, it was offensive. I'll get behind that. And no, he shouldn't have liked it. I don't want to go down that route.
Right.
But from the racing side of things, I'm staying on the racing side of things.
Yeah.
Sponsorship issues, yes, the suspension was warranted.
Yeah. I agree. I'm throwing the green flag on this. I see it from two sides, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that it wasn't offensive. That's not my place, right? If there are people out there, I've always had this belief that if there are people out there who say it's offensive, I'm going to listen to them and hear why, right? That's what I'm going to say on that. Also, this doesn't violate First Amendment rights for those of you who think it does. That's not how it works. That's all I'm going to say on that. Now, there are two sides of this coin, right? Noah, Jarrett, Dakota, all the other people out here. There are people who think that I should be able to like what I want on social media and not get backlash. I agree. We all make mistakes. I'm not saying we don't, right? There are things that we have said that I'm like, wish I didn't say that. There are things that I've posted that I've deleted. I'm like, I shouldn't have posted that. I get that. But like I said earlier, before we came out here, Noah is a public figure, and what you say and do is going to be put under a microscope. Now, whether that is fair or not, that's not a discussion that I feel qualified having,
but
because I'm not in that position.
To know is a thing whenever
right.
you become a race car driver, or
an
not even
athlete,
a race car driver,
celebrity,
an athlete that is representing a brand.
Yes, and so that's my point, right? Everything that you do is going to be under a microscope, and you, at the end of the day, like Jarrett said, like many others have said, you are representing a brand. Now, whether the brand thinks it's right or wrong, it's irrelevant, right? Because if people are going to be outraged by this, and there have been, the brand would not want to be associated with that, right? The team does not want to be associated with that. You are reflecting, what you do reflects your team and your sponsorship, no matter if you like it or not. And they're the ones paying you to do what you're doing. So, yes, the suspension was warranted. I think that's all I really want to say on that. It's just that at the end of the day, yes, it might not be fair that everything you do is in the public light, but you are a public figure, you are an athlete, and what you say and do, you're going to get, it's going to get seen, right? Whereas, like, I could have done something just as bad, and not many people would have known about it, but that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And
you put yourself in the spotlight,
yeah,
because you do what you do.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
And so I kind of want to ask this question real quick, because I've seen a lot of people talk about how it's not fair because now these athletes, these drivers, in the context of racing, can't have a life outside of racing because of the things that they do on social media, for example. Do you really agree with that?
I think a lot of drivers still have fun and do have life outside of racing. I mean, sure, I get it. I think there needs to be some sort of a divide between, hey, I am racing, I'm representing my brand, and I'm at home. I don't represent anybody but myself.
Right.
But how do you do that?
Right. I also just want to say, if you don't find it offensive, okay. But it's also 2023.
Someone's offended by it.
Things are not going to fly like they used to. whether you think it's right or wrong, right? So you have to be very cautious, or maybe you don't, and that's fine. If that's how you want to live, you do that, but you also have to reap the consequences, right? But the point stands, in my opinion, that you have to be very cautious of what you say or do, because again, we're just in a time now where people are going to not be happy about everything you say or do. And
But
I think that post was wrong. Yeah. And maybe he shouldn't have liked it, but
I don't want to say that, social media has had an effect on, even the average Joes, right? There have been people who haven't gotten 9-to-5 jobs because of their social media presence.
yeah.
Companies look at that stuff. So it affects everybody.
Not just Noah, right?
You really can't. You can, like you said, if you just don't care, you can do whatever you want. But when it comes time to do things you got to do, like get a job, and a company sees that you've been posting, sharing this, that, and the other, and the company's like, well, I don't want someone like that working here. I don't want someone like that to be representing us. No, they're not going to hire you over someone else.
Right. And that's my point, right? Is that, regardless if you think it's right or wrong, you have to consider those things that, like, people have lost college scholarships. People have lost jobs because of the things they say and do on social media. And again, that's their right to do that, right? They don't have to hire you. You're not obligated to have a job. And if they don't like what you're doing, they can fire you. Indiana is one of the many at-will states. I can show up to work one day and wear the wrong shoes and they could say you're out, or, they can look at me and just say you're done. Like, that's just the way it is. And so you have to think about it, right? And that's my point. Is like, yeah, you might not think it's right or wrong, but somebody else is going to make that decision for you. And that's just what you're going to have to deal with.
Especially when someone's forking over a bunch of money for you to do what you do.
And I want to say, I think NASCAR has been very consistent with these types of incidences, right? Denny Hamlin had consequences for what he did. Kyle Larson was in a very similar situation. Thankfully, for a lot of people, he rebounded. I think that him making that mistake was there was something good that came out of it, right? Like if you watched the Dirt series on Flow, he talked about growing from that, learning from that, and doing better. I think Noah has the same chance here, and it's a matter of how he handles himself and if he has the openness to learn and grow from it, and realize that things have consequences whether you think they're right or wrong. But with that being said, this next one is really a what if here. Do you really think Noah's departure from Legacy was really his decision? The announcement that was released said that it was Noah's decision to leave. He asked the team to leave. Do you really think it was his decision to leave, or do you think that was a PR stunt?
I think it was Noah. And the reason I say this is because when stuff happened to Kyle Larson, it all happened instant. Whereas this has been a couple days after, it wasn't like, hey, you're out.
Yeah.
It was, hey, we're suspending you. Obviously, there was rumors that they were letting him go, but nothing ever came out about it. I think it was Noah. Green flag for me.
So let me rephrase. Do you think there was any push from the team to help him make this decision?
Now, that I could see.
Okay.
That I could 100% see. And maybe that was them trying to help him save face because, I'm sure they love Noah. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to make that decision.
Right.
They didn't want to suspend him. So maybe that was their way of, hey, we're going to help you out here. This will make you look a little better.
Right. I would agree with that. I'm going to throw the caution here. I think I agree with everything you just said. I think that I think I should say that I hope Noah made this decision because it really does show his maturity. It shows his understanding of, yes, this happened 30 years ago, and I might not think it's fair that I'm losing my job over a post that I liked 3 years ago, but I really hope that he was the one that made this decision. Goodness. because I really do think it would show that he understands that it was wrong and that he's maturing. Now, pre-meme, right, a lot of people thought that Noah had a real issue with his attitude, with how he behaved, all these things, that he wasn't mature, which is why, I hope that this was his decision to show that he is maturing and he's realizing now, that this was a mistake. And I hope that he's able to learn from this and continue that maturing. And I think if he can do that, and, I have no thought that he can't come back. I think he will come back. I hope that it does happen. I think that if it does, he's going to come back way better than what he was pre this whole issue. Now that moves me into the next question. Was Toyota behind his departure? And I would say that that's a given, that Toyota probably didn't want to be associated with this issue. But I will say, we can skip.
Why Toyota, though? Wasn't he racing Chevy?
Sorry. Well, that goes into the next point, right?
Okay.
Legacy is moving to Toyota
okay,
next year.
Okay.
So this kind of started the whole conversation that maybe because pre-post coming to light, pre-meme coming to light, there was conversations that Legacy was going to split ways with Noah anyway. They weren't happy with his performance, and that John.
Sorry, but you can't put anybody in that car and expect them to go win races.
I agree with you, but there's been rumors that that they were going to split ways and they were going to pull in somebody else who's already at Toyota, John Hunter Nemechek. So let me not say Toyota per se, but let me say, with this manufacturer change and the thought that they were going to split ways anyway, do you think that this situation was a cop-out for them to just boot Noah now?
That's tough.
I'll go first. I'll say caution flag, because when I was saying that out loud, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But I don't think the manufacturer change really would have affected anything. They would have just got rid of Noah at the end of the season instead of where we're at now.
Yeah. I mean, remembering the fact that they're switching to Toyota, I think I'm going to throw a caution flag as well.
I think the timing is just a coincidence.
Yes. But I really don't have a whole lot to say on it. I don't know.
But maybe the transition takes longer than what we're thinking. And so they're doing that transition now, and they just don't want.
But it's also stupid that there was discussions of them splitting ways with Noah, because literally his first year in the Cup Series, he's with a subpar team, rightfully so. Who's
making changes themselves to try to be better.
Right. So I'm not shaming them whatsoever.
No.
They're not just complacent with sucking. They're trying to get better. So I'll give them that. But it's the same situation I had discussed with you about front row. They put somebody in the seat for a year, and I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Bye. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. But I also want to say that I called that Noah signing with Richard Petty Motorsports at the time was not a good career move.
Yeah. Yeah. You did say that, and I probably was like, no, you're wrong. Or maybe I was on the fence about it. I don't know. With that being said, do we think Noah will return to NASCAR?
Now, when you say NASCAR, are you
any
referring
series
to
of NASCAR?
Green flag. I think he may have to go back down to like trucks, because he hasn't. No, has he raced trucks, or did he?
I think he's ridden trucks before.
So I think he's going to have to kind of work back up. I don't think he's going to be like a Kyle Larson and come straight back into the Cup Series. I could be wrong, because my thought process here is Kyle Larson had won races with his prior team.
Yeah.
Noah hasn't.
Yeah.
Noah's also only been there for a year, but I think that he's going to have to work back through it, get back maybe in an Xfinity car somewhere, which if Brandon Jones is leaving, that's the driver of Junior Motorsports' second car.
Yeah, they bring him back.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that being a possibility too, right? I don't think Brandon's leaving, by the way. I know we talked about that last episode. I don't think he's leaving. I think that was just a rumor mill. But in the off chance that it does happen, I could definitely see Dale and Kelly bringing Noah back under their wing.
So let me ask this question really quick.
Help him grow.
Is Spire affiliated with Junior Motorsports?
I believe they might have an alliance there, yeah.
So then does Carson run full-time in an Xfinity car with Spire instead of...
Well, that's the current plan.
Okay.
So let me pull up this tweet real quick.
Well, I know that when he ran the Xfinity car, it was in Junior Motorsports garage, right?
So yeah, I believe they have an alliance, but I did see a tweet, interestingly enough.
So to me, that leads me to believe that Carson runs full-time with Spire and Noah comes back with Junior in the 9 car, or in the 8 car, since Barry's moving up.
Oh, of course I won't be able to find it now. Oh, right here. Bob Podcast posted a tweet yesterday. It was a clip with him and Carson talking, and he said the truck playoffs are likely the last for Carson Hocevar, as he remains a top candidate if Spear Motorsports makes a change on the number 77 Cup car.
Is it Spear or Spire?
Spire, sorry.
I was like, did I say it wrong?
No, you're good. It was my bad. So currently, publicly, it seems like Carson is slated to take the 77 if they do make that change. If not...
So then why all the posts with Junior?
Because there's just been a lot of coincidences.
I guess.
I forgot that he was rumored to be the next Cup driver for Spire. But if that's the case, Dale Jr. has an open car, and I could definitely see him and Kelly giving Noah another chance. And I think they would really take the time to develop his character and just help him grow. I think Noah's been through a lot, and I'm not saying this to justify what he did, right? But I do feel for the kid. You know, he's been through a lot of family things that have happened over the years, and he's got a lot of troubles that he has to work through.
I also want to state, in my opinion, this is a problem with young kids racing at high levels because they are forced to grow up and mature and act in an adult manner very quickly.
Yeah.
Not saying it's impossible, but
I agree with you because again, the things that I could say or do are not going to get put under a microscope, right? So let's say for the most part, there are some rare exceptions in even super late model racing that we've kind of touched base on where things come out and it tears the world apart for a moment, right? But let's say I go out and do something stupid. Nobody's going to really know, right? Besides the people around me. Now, these kids are used to that, even in super late models, right? Where it's like I could go say something on Twitter and this many people see it. But now you're getting pulled from that safety net, really, and getting thrown into a truck or Xfinity car, Cup car, and it's a whole new ball game where you have to mind your P's and your Q's. And yeah, I would agree with that. I think, again, though, I'm not saying I know Noah personally or anything like that, but, you know, he's dealt with a lot, and I think there's a lot of things that he has to personally work through. And I think this would be a great time to do that and to learn from all of it. And I do see Dale and Kelly, if they had the opportunity, to give him a second chance and to really help him build and grow from this. With that being said, John Hunter Nemechek fills the 42 next season at Legacy.
I think that's another green flag because when I look at it, I don't know who else it would be.
Right.
Unless they pull in somebody and they turn it into people racing part-time. But unless maybe Zane Smith, now that we know he's a possible free agent, I mean, that's the only other possibility, and I think someone would take John Hunter
over Zane. Yeah, I'm going to throw the checkered flag on this one. I think it's a done deal. I think it makes the most sense with John Hunter racing with Gibbs, being a Toyota driver. I think they'll pull him from Gibbs and put him in that 42 when they do make the change to Toyota. But I think that's all I really have to add on that. I really can't see it being anybody else at the moment.
All right.
On to some more lighthearted stuff. I don't have to feel all like... Shane Van Gisbergen will race in the Cup Series next year, probably with Trackhouse. What are our thoughts?
I'm going to throw a yellow on this. Now, he did win his first NASCAR Cup Series race, his debut. He won. So I think that maybe is going to help in that decision. I'm leaning more towards green, but I'm still throwing yellow just because of doubts. I think he's got a lot of decision-making going on. I think it would be good for the sport. Absolutely. He's racing the oval this weekend at IRP in a truck. So that's some oval experience. I don't know how much oval experience he has, if
I
any.
don't think he has much.
So that'll be interesting to see. But, he went out on a street course and won. He's used to this style of car, V8 supercar, basically. So I'm leaning towards a green flag. Under yellow flag conditions, we're like 1 to go, green flag next time by.
Right.
But still, I'm throwing a caution flag.
I'm going to throw a green flag, and I think it's maybe because you didn't see this and I didn't show you. Kind of forgot about it till we got back to the topic. But Shane did join Dale and Mike on their podcast, and he talked about this decision to potentially race in Cup.
It's been a bit of a struggle there with the way the series is at the moment. It's not as enjoyable. So
what's going on? Yeah, why?
Just the new car and stuff, and there's so much background.
What's different about the car?
They changed it, a whole new chassis and concept, and everyone's the same parts. It's very similar to here.
It sounds like Cup Series.
Yeah, delayed, but when you read all the articles from last year about the drivers' problems and stuff, it's very similar, So, but the qualifying there is awesome, but the racing sucks. It's so boring. Like, you're driving around at 30% trying to keep the tires, and everyone's just following each other, and all the parts are the same, and the car's got a very narrow setup window. Everyone's running the same setup basically. And there's a minimum tire pressure rule of 17 pound. So everyone goes out on 17, they come on at the same time, drive around at the same pace, and the tire just explodes because it's running too high. And you just follow each other around. It's mind-numbing. So
wow.
Yeah, so I come here and the race is just a hustle the whole time. You're just driving flat out, and that's what I love. Yeah.
He said that he's kind of tired of the supercars. He said that, they've made changes recently, like the Cup Series did, where everybody's kind of on a level playing field. They're running the same setup. He said the setup window is very narrow, but other than that, they're running the same parts. They're running the same tire pressures. They're doing all this and that. And he said it's just mind-numbing. It's just not fun anymore. He says it's very boring racing. But he also did say that he doesn't see himself just jumping into the Cup Series. So I could see him leaving down under, coming up to the States and running some level of racing, maybe it's not Cup with Trackhouse, but I could definitely see him running.
Put that boy in a super late model.
In trucks or Xfinity. I really do see it. Another topic of conversation was that, of course he came out on a street course and won. Granted, it was an uphill climb for him to get used to this car, but he's now going on an oval, like you said. And so we'll really get a better idea of how he'll perform on an oval setup, but also this gives him the experience to do it, because I don't think he has very much, if any at all, oval experience. And so we'll get to see how he fares against the people that are doing this constantly.
Which he poked fun at the Truck Series, didn't he? Something about a wreck fest or...
I wouldn't be surprised. But no, so I'm excited for him. I would love to see him come in and run something within NASCAR. But that's all on that. I guess we'll find out in the next year where he ends up. Last topic of this segment, the Brickyard should return to the oval.
Green flag.
Yeah.
Green flag. Now, like I talked about earlier, I like the road course because it was chaos entering turn 1 on restarts.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just an oval guy anyway.
Yeah.
Now I know a lot of people from back when they did race the oval said that it was one of the most boring races they've ever gone to.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember specifically, I forget what year it was, watching them race the oval. I think it was the last time they raced the oval here. It was the year that Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin were trading wins, and Denny Hamlin was in the lead, cuts tire straight into the wall.
Yeah.
Kevin Harvick ends up winning the race. I thought that was a good race.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because it's such a big track, it's hard to watch in person, kind of like with the Indy 500. The atmosphere's cool, great. But the race itself, if you aren't sitting in the turn, it's a boring race to watch.
Yeah.
And we can't watch it on TV because we're blacked out.
Right.
But no, I agree. I agree. You haven't said anything, but
No, I agree. I think even if we alternated every other year, where we do oval one year, do the road course next, I would be okay with that. I really miss the oval.
why not treat it like Charlotte? They run the oval and the roval.
Right.
And Daytona.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to see the oval make a comeback. I think it's time. We have such different cars than we did when we last raced on the oval. I'm interested to see what a next gen could do on the oval, and I think that IMS and NASCAR should really give it another chance and see what they can do.
You know what I really want to see on a super speedway? A multi-class NASCAR race. They throw the trucks, the Xfinity cars, and the Cup cars all out there at the same time, where they're split up, so there's room, but throw all of them out there at once.
That'd be interesting.
Now, you really couldn't do that because pit stalls, pit boxes,
Yeah.
there's not enough.
Too can't do that on iRacing and just see.
You can.
We can.
Yes, I think
Dang.
you can.
We should put up a race on that. This is off topic a little bit, but I saw a clip on Twitter the other day, and they were modifieds running road course.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think they do that in real life.
No, it was.
Oh, I thought you were saying it was
no,
an iRacing clip.
It was real life.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the hell? I was like, that looks cool, though. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. It wasn't the big modifieds, it was little short ones, but I was like, damn, I didn't know that. That was so cool.
Yeah.
The more you know.
The more you know.
Wow. All right. I guess that concludes the segment, unless you have any other topics or anything you want to discuss further.
Nope. Don't have any fights this week, I don't think. No gloves off.
Nope. Couple hard hits.
Jesse Love at Berlin.
Yeah. Justin Peck
Dude, that was
had
nasty.
a massive wreck. Thank God he's okay. That was disturbing.
I watched the slow-mo of it at first. I'm like, oh, that wasn't bad. And then I watched the full speed. I'm like, oh, my.
Yeah. Who else was it? Was it Parker Price Miller had gotten up in the fence?
I saw a video of, who was it?
I think it was Parker Price that I saw, and then Dayson had.
It was
said
Dason's
something
video
about
that
it.
I saw that he ripped the fence down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a lot of hard hits. Thankfully, everybody's okay as far as I know. But yeah. With that being said, we'll move into some of the last topics that we had. Real quick, I wanted to touch base. Jimmy Johnson, Chad Canales, and Donnie Allison were nominated for the 2024 Hall of Fame class last Wednesday, while Janet Guthrie was awarded the Landmark Award for outstanding contributions to NASCAR. Really cool story that she has. Throughout her racing career, she was the first woman to compete in a super speedway race, finishing 15th. She also competed in the Daytona and Indianapolis 500, the first woman to do so. In 1977, Janet finished 6th at Bristol. When she left racing, she had competed in a total of 33 races. So, congratulations to all the winners. I know, I do know that there was some drama around this. None of the three, I think, won majority of the vote. It wasn't unanimous. There's been some heat from that. I don't know too much about it. I just know that Jimmy did not get the unanimous vote, and people were pissed. Let's see. Cody Connor is still looking for sponsors to race some of the bigger races this year.
Give that man some money.
Give him your money. If you are a business owner, or a business owner and they're able to, or you're just an average Joe like us, if you're able to donate anything to him, please consider it. He is probably the most deserving driver that I've met that deserves an opportunity to really show what he can do. When he has been able to do that, he's put up really great results, in my opinion. I know he went to the Snowball Derby, qualified pretty well, higher than anybody expected. I think he had a 21st place finish, but I mean, just to see the progress that he had made throughout the race was just really something else. I really wish Cody could catch a break and just get that once in a lifetime opportunity. We touched base on it earlier, but Mount Lawn canceled last weekend, so there were some adjustments to the schedule. We're racing next weekend, and I think the weekend after. and then the 30th, we had an extra race added in there somewhere.
September 16th.
Yeah, that's a non-point race. So I'll be racing the next 2 weekends because they're points races, and then Harvest Bash. Obviously, I'll be racing hopefully, but that's all I had for this episode.
That's all I have as well. Thanks for hanging out with us. Again, hopefully some big momentum shift for us coming in the future. Like I said, we have some really good ideas. It's just getting those ideas out.
Yeah, and if you, again, we say this almost every week, but if you're listening and you have something you would like to suggest, please let us know. I mean, you guys are the ones listening and watching, hopefully, and so, what can we do that would make your experience better? Because we'd love to have you around.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Anyway, that is all for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for being here with us today or whenever you listen to this.
We forgot.
What?
Are we announcing that tonight?
Yes.
Oops.
Go ahead.
All right. So, can't believe we forgot that.
There's been a lot going on.
So Jarrett and I were talking before we started recording, and I think we did settle on a giveaway opportunity here. So just wanted to talk about it a little bit. There'll be a better official announcement coming soon, but it looks like we're going to try to give away 4 tickets to this year's Winchester 400. So the idea that we're going to implement is that September 1st, this giveaway will open. We're going to discuss some rules and eligibility, but the goal is to open this September 1st and close it September 29th, and we would announce a winner on September 30th. So keep an eye out for that. But again, we're going to give away 4 tickets to this year's Winchester 400. Really excited about that. Like I said, we'll have a official announcement on that hopefully tomorrow. So hopefully I get this posted tomorrow. And we'll have some more information on the rules and eligibility. So keep an eye out on that. That was it. I can't believe we forgot that.
Like I said, there's been a lot going on.
Yes.
Anyway, hopefully we'll be back in the studio next week with another episode, and we will see you then.